So, before we begin, I would
Mm-hmm.
really want to take this opportunity to thank you, Heeral,
No,
for
no.
giving your time. And
The pleasure's all mine. Yeah.
more important than that, doing it so close to the time of shifting. Okay.
Yeah. It's, I
Yeah.
mean, I'm sitting in a different room right now because my room is an absolute mess. I'm still, caught up with the last minute packing and everything. But like I
Are
said, the
you in
pleasure's
Delhi?
all mine. Yes, I am.
And you are flying here, I know. Uh,
Yes.
and yeah, 11th you are coming, right?
Yes. 11th, I'm
Parents
coming.
also coming with you?
Yes, my parents are coming with me.
Nice. Perfect. Heeral, before we begin, of course, I
Mm-hmm.
want you to introduce yourself to everyone. These all
Sure.
are R1 applicants.
All right.
If things don't go wrong with them, obviously. And if they don't get
Mm-hmm.
derailed
Mm-hmm.
from the process, we all know how
Right.
many people start with good intentions, but then they get derailed.
Right. Right. Life gets in the way. Correct.
So please introduce yourself and then we'll
Sure.
take the discussion ahead.
Sure. So, hi everyone. My name is Heeral Sharma. I am going to start by giving you a background about my academic qualifications, and then I'll move on to my professional experience. So, I have pursued my BCom honors from Shahid Bhagat Singh Evening College, and I'm going to be very upfront about everything so that it gives you a holistic view of what the strengths and the weaknesses were
Yeah.
in my application. I think it'll help you understand where you lie in terms of your application journey a little bit better. So yeah, I was a part of, so I did my BCom honors from Shahid Bhagat Singh Evening College from DU. I was a 2018 pass out. And then post that, I did a 1 year full-time postgraduate diploma in economics from a new institute called Meghnad Desai Academy of Economics in Bombay. And that's my academic journey. In terms of my professional experience, at present I have about 4 years of full-time work experience in government advisory. So out of those 4 years, 3 years were in the Ministry of Health, where I was deployed on a project through KPMG. So I was employed by KPMG. I was in a consulting setup. I was working in their government advisory practice, and I was working in the Ministry of Health. After that, I worked in the Ministry of Education for a year. So that's my professional background. But I got done with my education. I did my postgraduate diploma in 2019, and then I only have 4 years of experience because I also did two sort of relatively longer internships, and there were a couple of gaps. One gap was for GMAT, one gap was during COVID. I was in between jobs, I couldn't find anything. And again, I'm highlighting these things so that you have an idea about my strengths and my weaknesses as well.
Sorry to cut you off. I'm glad you are highlighting this heel. Every
Yeah.
time someone asks me that, if I had a penny, when everyone, someone asks me that I have a gap, will it affect my chances? Will it affect my?
Right.
That'd really be almost a millionaire. Okay.
Yeah, I
So
completely
many.
get it.
Every week I get at least one query. Oh, I have a gap.
Yeah.
And I keep giving examples of you, of Himanshu who is going to IIM Bangalore, Anushila who is currently at ISB, all
Yeah.
1 year gap, 2 to 3 year gap, Randhir
Yeah.
who you would be meeting at your campus is. I don't know
Yes.
how much gap she had. 34 years old, he has multiple years old, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's exactly the reason I'm highlighting, because
Yes.
I know that when I started with my application, these were things that I was extremely concerned about. But yeah, I mean, even with all of that, even with being from a tier 2, tier 3 college, in fact, and then having gaps, I could still turn it around. I could turn it around for myself, and that I truly believe so can you. So that's about my background. And
I have very specific questions to ask you, Hiral.
I am very excited for all the
Ah.
questions.
Okay. Just give me a minute. Huh. We had our one thing that you really did, and I'm really happy. I'm sure you are happy as well today while thinking in hindsight that you started your interview preparation immediately after submitting the application.
Absolutely.
You did not wait for the shortlist and all. And I pushed you.
Absolutely.
The first mock should ideally be taken without any preparation because you go, oh,
Absolutely.
I am not prepared yet. I said, yeah, that's the point of
Yes.
taking first mock.
Yes.
Now, I hope you remember I was kind of brutal in my feedback after the first.
100%. And I can't thank you enough for that, honestly. I knew
Okay.
that from the start, and that's exactly what I wanted.
So our first mock happened around mid of September or kind of late-ish
Yes.
September. Then you took
Yes.
your second mock with Astha. I did not take any feedback from Astha on how you did, but your
Mm-hmm.
third mock was with Arpita. Okay.
Yes.
And Arpita on 18th October, I'm just reading her text that, hey, Anshul just wrapped up the conversation with Heeral. Very promising candidate. I want to know what did you do in that 1 month? Because I do not know.
Right.
No one can call you promising after the first mock with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
What
I'm
all did
aware of
you do?
that.
What all did you do in that 1 month? Of course, you had feedback from me and Astha
Mm-hmm.
after that. What else did
Yeah.
you do? How did you work on that feedback also?
Mm-hmm.
Tell in very much detail for everyone who is present here.
Right. So right after I signed up with you, I mean, you provided me with a list of
Yeah, yeah,
questions, a
yeah.
tentative list of questions, and then there were other resources as well, which had a compilation of previous interview transcripts. So I could get a sense of,
27,
yes,
27
absolutely.
transcripts.
So I could get a sense of what kind of questions are asked, right? So our since like after signing up with you, there wasn't much time for me to
Yeah,
truly utilize those resources between me signing up and our first mock, right?
yeah.
So after that first mock, I mean, I always knew that. So one thing that I did right was that I identified that interviewing is something that it's a weakness of sorts. It's something that I actually need to start working on right from the get-go. And I got to work right after submitting my application. That's something that I did right. And you provided me with the right resources to get started with. So I was not like wasting time on finding things on the internet. I could just
Right,
dive right into it.
right.
And so after our first mock, you had obviously given me enough sort of structure and idea in terms of the approach I need to take that I could then utilize those resources even better. So what I actually did in terms of the
Yes, that's
actionables,
what I want to know.
yes, in terms of the actionables, I went through the questions, I went through the transcripts, I prepared an extremely comprehensive list of interview questions, right? I think there were close to 80 to 90 questions that I finally came up with.
Okay.
And then I just got down to write down the answers for those questions.
You documented the answers of all of them?
Yes, I documented the answers of all the questions, every single one of the questions. Now, the idea of doing this exercise was obviously not to mug up the questions,
Obviously.
but through the process, introspect and understand and solidify my own narrative, my own journey, and have an understanding of so it's hard to predict the flow of the conversation in an interview, right? They could ask me anything, and at that moment I can only think so much. So through that exercise, I almost created this mental repository of everything that I've done, of maybe the leadership, my idea of leadership, so where I am strong in leadership, where what are my weaknesses in this, my professional experiences, my professional achievements, my professional failures, all of these things, right? I created a mental repository of all of these things so that I could tap into that repository on that day, right? And through that entire journey, through this entire exercise, I just kept on redefining and solidifying my own narrative and just being concrete about why I am doing what I'm doing, why am I here, why ISP, why MBA, and why me, and why am I a good fit. And I think honestly, and obviously there were other mocks, and I sort of prepared myself more in terms of the feedback. Those gave me like very specific things to work on in terms of my delivery, or how even the way I was saying something was being perceived. It's small things like that, right? Which is the reason my mock interviews are so helpful. I could think that I'm saying the right thing, but it may not, because of me not using the right words, it may not be expressing the right idea. And the ultimate aim is for the interviewer to perceive what you're actually trying to say. So, um, through the mocks, I kept taking that feedback in and incorporating that feedback. But I think it was mostly this exercise that I did, and the mocks that kept telling me how to sort of, along the way change my directions. They kept redirecting me through this journey. But this was mostly my interview prep.
Okay. Now tell me what exactly happened in the real interview, because I do not know that in detail. Of course, you told me a few things,
Yes.
this and that you told me, but
Yes.
I'd be very frank, I was so occupied with our two people
I know.
that I
I
couldn't
know.
really give any thought. I said, ki, acha, ho gaya, acha, to I just hope and well, you know,
Yeah.
wish her the best. But I could not have a conversation around your actual interview.
Right.
Now is the time. So please tell
Yes.
me, everyone in detail, what actually happened. What exactly do you think they were trying to know? What exactly do you think was their direction with respect to the conversation? How did it feel and everything? Tell
Right.
before you forget, because if I ask you the same question in 10 days, you'll forget everything, because next 10 days are going to be the most crazy 10 days of
I
your
know.
life. Even
That's what I
crazier
keep
than your
hearing.
placement. That orientation week, it kills you. Matlab, physically, it is so demanding. And this scorching heat that
That's what I keep hearing. Yeah.
you'll become 2 shades darker.
Okay.
Okay, chalo,
Thanks.
please continue.
Thanks for the heads up. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
In the interview, there were three interviewers in the panel. One was from cohort 2014. He was the senior most alum on the panel, and the other two were from cohort 2018. One was 2018, one was 2019. So the first thing that they asked me was, introduce yourself, tell us about yourself. And right after that question, they just got started. Their first question was, we see what's on your resume. We want you to walk us through all of it, but focus on the intent. Why did you do what you did? So ultimately, they wanted me, this is my sense, they wanted me to justify my decisions, and they wanted to understand how intentional had I been in my profession, my academic and my professional journey so far. And um, this is something that I was not exactly anticipating, but I think I had done enough prep to be able to justify my actions so far. I'd gone through my CV, everything in a lot of detail. And so I started with that, and there were multiple follow-up questions, and they I really had to justify some of my decisions. For example, why did you, so right after I got done with my, let's say, postgraduate diploma, it was from a newer institute. Why did you do an internship? Why did you not move to a job? And if and you did, let's say, your first internship was with a startup. Why after that did you move to venture capital? And after that you started working full time in government advisory. How do you justify this trajectory? And then from your job, you were working in a big four for 3 years, and you left that behind. You moved to a different sector, which was from health to education. And then you also left the organizational cover behind to become an independent consultant directly with the Ministry of Education. So that's a big step. What was the reasoning behind you taking this step? So they truly wanted to understand the level of intentionality and my decision making ability. And I think through that, you can correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I think through that they were also trying to understand that, is my post MBA goal something that has been there from my journey, or is it something that I've come up with maybe just for the sake of the application? So I think I it's something. So my post MBA goal is social impact consulting. So I could truly justify that. Government advisory, I told them that social impact consulting is something. I think the seed of me wanting to go in this field was sown when I started working in KPMG, and I was working in the COVID response project. And so through that story, I could justify that. This itself, with all the follow-up questions included, took about 20 minutes. My interview went on for a total of 55 minutes. This was, I think, about 17 to 20 minutes. And and
That is very unusual.
Yeah.
It is
It,
double the length of a typical ISB interview.
yeah,
So now I'm more
absolutely.
interested to know what happened after these 20
After this,
questions.
there were multiple questions. And so after this, they asked me certain questions about professional experience. Let's say, has there been any instance where you hold on? Yeah, has there been any instance where you were working on something and you were truly involved in it, something that you had probably led, and then you were taken off that project and moved to a different project? Instances of, have you had to work with different teams? Has there been a situation where the goals didn't align? How did you take on the role of being a mediator of sorts? How did you manage that situation? Then they moved on to questions about leadership. You have uh, led certain deliverables within your project. What was your experience in that? What were the challenges that you faced? And what is your idea of leadership? What kind of leader do you think you are, and what kind of a leader do you think you would like to become? And with all of this, there were also certain questions about my profile, like of the personal things that I had written in my SOP, and interesting questions around that as well. So, for instance, I had mentioned that my father is an astrologer. So they asked me a very interesting question that, you were working. First of all, they asked me what are the pros and cons of having been brought up in that sort of an environment. And the second question was that you were working in the COVID response project. Someone who's religious obviously has this sort of a belief that there's destiny at play and things are sort of written in the stars. And you were seeing all of these, people lose their lives. What motivated you? Did that not create an internal conflict, your personal beliefs and what you were doing professionally? So they were very involved. It felt like they really wanted to get to know me as a person. And let me tell you one thing, everyone says it's more like a conversation, it's not a stress interview. They're not trying to deliberately put you under stress, but at the end of the day, it is an interview. So just don't think that it's only a conversation that you're having, you're just sitting there and chit chatting. It's not that simple.
Well, I want you to stop right
Sorry.
there, Hiral, because I want
Okay.
to add two things because you made a very strong point. Yes, ISB interview is never a stress interview because they are not trying to stress you, unlike IIM
Yeah.
Ahmedabad. Hiral
Yeah.
will not know because she did not apply to IIM Ahmedabad, but I'm sure she heard horror stories from other
Absolutely. Yeah.
people in the group. And
Yes.
I'm sure other people who have attended the similar calls as Heeral with IIM Ahmedabad admits, they heard how IIM Ahmedabad take the interview because they want people who can handle stress. Because they are
Hmm.
looking to place people directly in senior leadership roles. They want that if there is an uncomfortable situation, how a prospective leader would behave, they want to test that.
Yeah.
That's why they put someone under stress. Everyone, almost everyone under stress during the interview. ISB, they do not do that at all because the ethos of ISB is a different ethos of how they take admission. But having said that, you feel that an interview is stressful not when they are putting you under stress, but when you yourself are getting stressed because you are not really prepared to answer the questions that are being asked. And what Heeral said, though it is a conversation, they are very acutely looking at you and
Yes.
very and kind of judging you with in a very nuanced way. Because I repeat, most of you already know this. You are marked on 15 to 16 different parameters, and they are as diverse as it can get, as they can get. Sorry, and you are marked between 1 to 5 in 15 to 16 parameters, and then there are some objective parameters also such as yes or no. Now in those 15 parameters, if you're not scoring continuously 4 out of 5 or 3 out of at least 3 out of 5 and definitely more than 3 out of 5 in maximum of the parameter, there is no chance you're getting an admit. The competition is huge. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a conversation, but it's a very intelligent conversation, and you must
Absolutely.
go
Yes.
fully prepared with all armaments. Sorry, Hiral, to interrupt you. Please go ahead.
Yeah. And no, I completely agree. I could tell that they were not deliberately trying to put stress on me, but I could tell that every word that I was saying, every answer that I was giving was being scrutinized in extreme detail. And I could tell that because of the kind of follow up questions that I was getting. So, for example, when I mentioned that I want to go into social impact consulting, their question was that why not masters in public health? You already have 3 years of experience in healthcare. Why not something like a master's in public health? Why specifically MBA, right? And then they like they were truly drilling down. They would pick something and they would drill down into it. And this is something that I remember Anshul had also highlighted in one of our calls, that it's one of their policies. That's how they interview, right? That's their approach of interviewing. They'll just pick something and they'll drill down. They'll keep drilling down into it to understand how deeply do you understand that thing. So that was mostly my experience. I think I can't remember every question that I was asked because there were so many follow up questions. But yeah, I would just suggest that, like Anshul highlighted, it's extremely important to be prepared, because if you're not prepared, you will feel the stress, whether they try to put it on you or not. Also, I want to ask you, Anshul, I think there's a question that's been asked on chat. Do you suggest I answer it right now or pick it up later on? I think you're on mute.
Sorry, I'm
Yeah.
saying I cannot see the question because I think it is directly sent to you. So yeah,
Okay.
I
Right.
think I'm
Sure.
done with all the questions because this is the only thing I didn't know. These were the only two
Okay.
things I didn't know, that how did you
Okay.
prepare and eventually what happened in the interview. So
Sure.
I am done with my questions.
Okay.
Now you can take the question that are being asked. One thing before you do that, I want
Mm-hmm.
everyone to ask questions to Heeral, because please understand this is the last info session with a recent admit. I cannot take info session from tomorrow. They all are going to start in 2 days. Okay. So please ask as many as questions. We will continue with info session, but mostly you have to endure me, not with anyone else. And maybe some other alums who have graduated and now they have time to talk to you and resolve your queries. So please ask all your queries. You can unmute. Just allow me. I will give the permission to unmute. Yeah, you can unmute yourself. There is no problem. And yeah, one more thing. If someone is still not a part of the WhatsApp group, I'm sharing the link in the chat box. So yeah, here you can take the question that someone has sent.
Sure. Sure. So I'll also read it out for everyone. The question is that the questions can be dynamic based on situation, profile, and biases, meaning that the interview is not entirely in our control. However, answers are in our control. Can you explain how did you prepare your answers? What is the process of self-reflection? Okay. So I understand that an interview may not be, the questions may not be entirely in our control. But like you said, see, I believe that answers, ऐसा नहीं है कि for different questions the answers will be largely different. The idea, like I said, is to have a mental repository of just some basic things. For example, professional achievements, professional failures, your idea of leadership strengths, weaknesses, your own strengths, weaknesses. Maybe let's say an instance where you had to face a difficult colleague, an instance of client interaction which was extremely difficult. These sort of situations, right? Now, again, these answers are things that can fit into multiple sort of questions. So I think you're right when you say the answers are in our control. So just have these categories. What I had done was I had divided the questions also into categories for myself. For example, one category was questions about me, like personal questions. The other category was professional experience. Anything related to professional experience, but more in terms of like an organizational perspective. Let's say challenges, achievements, failures, stuff like that. The other thing, another set was questions related to the work that I had done. Another category was obviously why MBA, why ISB. Those are very, very important, goes without saying. And one more category that I'm missing out on, I'll share that with you as I recall that. But I divided questions into categories, and the answers that you can have multiple questions under one category, but the answers you'll have will largely be, there will be a huge overlap. That there is a
Yeah.
possibility, in fact, there will be a lot of overlap between the answers. So, like I said, the point is that once you're there, you do not have the time to think, ki, oh,
Yeah.
let me take a moment, let me think about this. You don't have that time. So, once you've refreshed your memory, once you've done the entire process, you already have these instances ready. You can pick the accurate, the appropriate instance, and you can share that as an answer. And that is the idea. In terms of the self reflection and the process, I think you just need to sit down and think. I mean, there's no process for self reflection, right? You, I mean, maybe if you have, just go through your resume, find the work that you've done. Maybe if you're feeling stuck somewhere, uh, um, talk to someone who knows you very, very well. Try to understand how they perceive you, It could give you an understanding about yourself a little bit more. So, yeah, I guess, I mean, that's what I can suggest in terms of the process of self reflection. If you have any more questions, let me know. I'll move on to the next question.
I want to add one more thing about self reflection. Once you start documenting the answers of all the questions, there will be a lot of self reflection happening automatically, because you
Yeah.
will start understanding ki, oh, these are my biggest strengths. This is one of the significant achievement of my life. Okay, this is how I've handled conflict in my career. This is how, this is why I've shifted careers so far. This is what, these are some of my weaknesses that I have worked on. यही तो है सेल्फ इंट्रोस्पेक्शन क्या है. Once you are able to close your eyes and kind of reflect on the reasoning behind everything that you have done, reflect on the key milestones and key achievements in your personal and professional life, I think your self introspection part is done. This is what it is. Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Also, I said about the categories. Another category, important category of questions for me was shortcomings in itself, right? Career
Yeah.
gaps, and colleges and stuff like that. So that was another category. Next question is, I think there's also a question addressed to you, Anshul, when you said there are different
Yeah,
parameters.
that parameter thing we will do when we reach the interview stage, Manu. That is one thing, and it automatically gets covered when you start writing your application. You get a lot of knowledge about those parameters, so don't worry.
Right.
Thank you.
And the next question is, how did you justify the gaps in your career and your diverse experience? So, I think for gaps, the gaps in themselves were sort of justified. One, again, I could say that there was COVID. I was really, so one gap was I was in an internship, a long term internship, and I had already had a conversation about conversion. And I was assured that there was a possibility, a very high possibility of conversion. But because of COVID, and I was in a VC fund, so all the investments had been stalled, and they did not have any work for me at all. So there was no need for them to hire another person. And as a result of that, I just had to be and let go. And I was looking for opportunities, and it was a difficult time. So they were more or less okay with that. The second gap was for GMAT. And I I mean, it's an assumption, and it could be a bold assumption, but it is something that may even have been considered or could have been considered in a positive light, because it showed that I very strongly took a risk because I wanted to do something. I was certain about pursuing MBA, and that is the reason why I decided to quit and went ahead. And, you know, gave all my time to GMAT and prepared sincerely. So that was the second gap. In terms of the diverse experience, I think I was very honest about that. I could not justify the difference other than to say that it I at that age I realized that I had the opportunity to explore different things, and so at that moment of time I did something that felt interesting to me, and then I realized it was not the right fit, and I went ahead. How I could justify this behavior was through the work experience that I've done. So I've worked in government advisory for 3 years. I was working sincerely, dedicatedly in KPMG in the Ministry of Health on a project, on a large scale national project. And after that, I could also justify the move to the Ministry of Education. I mean, I can talk more in detail about this. You can reach out to me directly as well. I don't mind helping you out and sharing more answers. But basically, the idea is they just want to know how honest you are and how deliberate you are, and even see they're aware that there will be shortcomings as long as there's a justifiable reason, and you also show improvement beyond that. I think it's fine, which I would like to believe I was able to do. Next question is, since you were already working in public policy consulting at KPMG, how did you justify MBA specifically and social impact too? Impact firms like etc. also have similar wings, which can be done as a lateral shift. Right. So this was actually something that it was a part of the application. There's a specific question which asks you which instances made you realize that you specifically there's a gap that you need to fill by doing an MBA. So this is something that I had already mentioned in my essay. I had mentioned two specific professional instances where I highlighted why I needed to do an MBA. And as far as my need to go into social impact consulting, one was actually my need to work more on my strategic thinking. The projects that I had worked on were implementation focused. So MBA is something, it provides you with the environment, the ecosystem, and the tools to work on your strategic thinking. And if you want to move to social impact consulting, there will be a good mix of strategic projects as well as implementation focused projects. So that was one gap that I had highlighted. And there was also a personal story that I very openly and honestly shared with the interviewers about why I wanted to go into social impact consulting and pursue that seriously after MBA. So I think those things worked in my favor. Did you also
People have
consider?
asked about your GMAT experience because you had a very good GMAT. So can you tell me how did you prepare for GMAT before you move to other questions?
Sure. So GMAT was actually a very long journey for me. I knew that there were shortcomings in my profile. I knew that to really make it to a tier 1 top B school, which is something that I did not want to compromise on at all, I needed a solid GMAT score to give a spike to my profile. So I actually started my prep in March or April of 2023. With work, I was doing this, so I could not give it the time that it required because there were periods where I was working 12 hours, 13 hours a day. It was extremely hectic. But in August, I appeared for my first attempt. In August of 2023, I appeared for my first attempt, which was the classic, GMAT classic, and I got a score of 600. And I was absolutely shattered. Work after that, I mean, I was truly heartbroken to just start preparing right away, which is the reason why I took some time and I focused on working, and then I decided that I want to quit and I want to seriously give GMAT the time that it deserves. And I started preparing a little bit around November end. December mid, I had my last working day, and for the next 4 months, for the next 3.5 months, I dedicatedly prepared for the GMAT. I took 3 more attempts after that. My first attempt was GMAT Classic, which was, I got a score of 600. After that, I took the GMAT FE. I got a 635. It helped with my confidence and my performance anxiety. I was like, okay, it's not a good score, but it's not as bad as the first time. Another attempt, 645. And then I had told myself that I would stop at 3 attempts because it can also be a vicious cycle. But when I walked out after the center after my third attempt, I knew that I could do better. I had prepared enough. I just did not have a good day that day, and I decided I'm gonna go and appear for another attempt. And this time I my final attempt was just 2 weeks after my third attempt, and I got a score of 715. What I would suggest you to do is, I mean, whichever platform works for you, whichever material works for you, TTP or Top 1% or Magoosh, eGMAT, that's entirely up to you. Non-negotiables would be the
Oh,
original GMAT and the mocks. I think the mocks are extremely important, especially for someone who has performance anxiety or test anxiety. Because when I think the major difference in my final attempt was that I had given all the mocks, and when I walked into the center that day, I was sleep deprived, I was tired. But when I looked at the screen, not for a second did it feel like it was a test. It just felt like it was just another mock.
yeah, because
And
that I can relate with your interview experience also.
yeah,
Because you yourself prepared for 80 to 90 different interview questions.
yeah,
Then you took such hardcore mocks with so, I mean, I'm not including myself, but the other two people were much more learned than me.
mhm,
And then, so obviously, when you do so much of practice,
yeah,
that is that quote, na bleed in the practice so that you don't bleed in the battle.
yeah,
That's what
absolutely.
happened.
Absolutely.
It's
I
all
think
practice, yeah, nothing, no rocket science in this entire.
it's no rocket science. I think there are no shortcuts. As long as you know that there are no shortcuts, you just have to put your head down and do the work that something requires. You'll be able to do whatever you
A
want.
lot of reapplicants are attending this call, and most of them have
Hmm.
talked to me also one to one. And there was one thing I could see clearly is lack of effort. They did not put, it's not like they did not want to put the effort. Maybe no one told them how to put the effort, in what direction,
Yeah,
what all. So
yeah.
it's just practice and effort and hard work, pure hard work, nothing else. Okay.
I agree.
Any other
Uh,
questions, please, that you
yeah,
want
did
to?
I consider applying to MPPs or MPAs? MPP, no, not really. I knew that I wanted to do an MBA.
Don't do these random courses there, please.
Yeah,
Go with
I
MPP.
mean, for me, and another major reason which I could obviously not very openly share with the interviewers was that I wanted the credibility, and just the credibility and also the avenues that a top school can unlock for you. Let's say 5 7 years 10 years down the line, I want to work on my own venture. I know that after being an ISB alum, I will have a network that will, I mean, and to have access to that sort of a network is the true value of a top B school. I believe. I think people are a bit myopic when they only think about placements. I think the real value is in the network and how easy it is for people to get access to um, the avenues that other people can only dream of. So I was very clear that I don't want to apply to any of the other courses. It has to be an MBA and it has to be from a top B school. Uh, yeah, I think GMAT also we've covered. Other than this, if anyone else has more questions, please feel free to ask.
Just a minute. Yeah, please continue. I'll take a 30 seconds break.
Okay, sure. I actually took a huge gamble, and so I'm responding to Sakshi's questions, who has asked what all schools did I apply to. Yeah, only ISB. I would obviously uh, not recommend that because it's a huge bet. But also, you guys can also unlock yourselves, and like it can be a conversation. It doesn't have to be a monologue. But so my initial plan was to go abroad, but I always knew. In fact, that's how I found Anshul. I had reached out to someone, had given me Tanmay's contact, and Tanmay usually looks at all the admissions to colleges abroad. And I was focusing on colleges abroad, but I knew from the very start that I want to settle down in India, and so I had to apply to ISB as well. And with all the uncertainty in the global market, and also realizing that the ROI just did not make sense for me, I realized that ISB was the best option that I had. And I also felt like I would not be compromising on the experience of an MBA because of the top class facilities like that ISB provides. So that's the reason why I actually only ended up applying to ISB. Luckily, I got in. But yeah, I would definitely recommend, and this is something that Anshul had also recommended to me when he took my first mock, that if you've not applied to any other colleges, you should definitely apply to other um, programs.
No, but I had a lot of faith in your profile. I was only disappointed by
Yeah.
your
Mock, I know.
mock interview. I'm like, such a good profile, but why she's not prepared? But
Yeah.
it was just a matter of 20-25 days, and I got a very good feedback from Arpita. And then by the time you came back to me for the fourth interaction, I was like, until unless you do some major goof up on the D day, you'll get in.
Yeah.
I know how it does, what they do. Most of the time, I'm able to guess who is getting in, who is not getting in. Matlab, not immediately. By the time you
But
reach the end of the
yeah.
journey. So, and again, no matter what, all credits to you, because most of the time people do not start immediately after submitting the application. Most of the time, and this is the biggest error people make. The conviction that, and I told you, there is a minute chance that you might not even get shortlisted because of your essays, if you remember.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then I told you that your GMAT is so high, plus female,
Yeah, that
plus
it should work in. Yeah.
plus non-engineer, so chances are higher that you will get an invite for sure. There's still
Yeah.
a minor chance that you might not because your essays were a bit goofed up. But I knew once you get shortlisted and once you do preparation properly, you'll get in, and you did prepare well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's, I think, another question about okay, after scoring 635, how long did you take before your next attempt? So I'll give a timeline. My first attempt was in August 2023, which was the GMAT Classic attempt. After that, I could not prepare because of work and because I was just, like I said, heartbroken after that score. I then picked up prep in November. My next attempt was in February, mid-February. I think 11th or 12th February of 2024, when I scored 635. After that, my attempt was on in the first week of March. I think first. No, sorry. So after 635, my next attempt was on 15th of March, 13th or 15th of March. And after that, my final attempt was on 30th March. So there was just about 2 weeks between the third and the fourth attempt. What all resources did I use? So, like I said, I mostly used TTP for quants because I knew I needed to work on quants. Other than that, for verbal, I found GMAT Ninja's playlists to be, I mean, to be honest, they're so good that I felt like it's criminal that it's available for free. I would recommend
Why?
everyone.
Even
No,
so
it
many
was.
my resources are available for free.
I am so sorry. No, that's true. That's true.
No, I'm just pulling your leg.
But GMAT Ninja's playlists are really good. You should definitely check them out for verbal, even for quants as well. But I will come back to this. You cannot skip on the OG material. You absolutely have to make sure that all the OG questions, you must attempt all the OG questions. You must take all the OG mocks. And I know people are a bit hesitant to pay for the official mocks, or they try to find like other alternatives, maybe cheaper alternatives. I would not recommend that. I think paying for the mocks is definitely worth it, especially for someone who may struggle with, test anxiety, which is very real.
One thing I just want to say, guys, this is not the time to save money. This is the time to build your career.
Yeah,
All this
absolutely.
money will come back in big dividends. Trust me,
Absolutely.
and I'm saying as an alum who graduated 7 years ago. Now I'm at a place to tell you how ISB is helpful, how much it is helpful. Should don't have to think twice. You will not have to think twice about
Yeah.
any part. Don't get the best resources available. Get the best help available. Just get a seat. कुछ भी करके get a seat. Everything will be taken care of after that.
Absolutely. You have to think of it. You have to think of it as an investment
Yes.
in your own career, in your own life.
Do
Because
not
that is
listen to
absolutely what it
people,
is.
your friends. Oh, I did not take any help. I too prepared for my application in 20 days. I did on my own. I did prepare. Only I did OG. I got a 715. No one does.
No.
People,
That's what I had heard.
almost 80-90% of us took tuitions in 10th and 12th, right? जहाँ कोई स्टेक हाई नहीं था.
Yeah.
Still we are going for maths tuitions है. यहाँ तो पूरी लाइफ. I told you, ISP, MBA will differentiate if your honeymoon would be in Goa or Maldives. So,
Correct.
so यहाँ stakes इतने high हैं. So please, no, don't believe in anyone who said I did not take. Everyone takes help. Why will anyone not take help when the competition is so crazy, when there is 7% chance? Get best of the resources possible. No matter what you do, just get a seat. Just get a seat.
Yeah.
Give your best. Okay.
Can I?
Yes, yes. By
Yeah.
all means,
Sure.
Pransh.
Hi, Heeral. I'm
Hi,
also
hi,
in a government
Devansh.
advisory role.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So just want to touch base upon the earlier question again. Since you are already in a government advisory role, and you said that your post MBA is goal is for social impact consulting.
Yeah.
Like sort of it is similar.
It is,
if
it
I'm
is.
not wrong. So like, were you asked upon this in your interview by any chance? And if yes, how did you tackle this particular part? That largely it
So-
is still similar.
So I was not asked about it in the interview, and I think one of the reasons I wasn't asked about it is because in one of the essays I had sort of highlighted the gaps, and I had highlighted those gaps keeping in mind my post MBA goal of social impact consulting, right? And again, when I was asked why not, you know, sorry, could you repeat your question? I am
Zoned out.
forgetting. Yeah,
Oh, you
I've had
are-
a very long day.
You already have become an ISP student even before joining. Zoning out is the most common thing you will face there, because there will be a avalanche of information thrown on your head every day. You will have no clue. Sometimes you'll zone out while this thing applying for jobs. Many it will happen that you will not apply to a job because it has a cover letter. You will be that tired.
No, I can. Yeah, I'm not. I'm
good,
a little
good.
worried about that,
Good,
but
good going. Okay, Devansh, please.
yeah,
So,
sorry.
like, how did you tackle, given there's largely not a large difference between your current role and your post MBA goal?
No,
So this was my question.
so
Yeah.
there is I believe there is a difference when you're working on so when you're working in government advisory, you're obviously only working with a government with the government, right? Social impact consulting mein, there are a lot of other projects that happen directly, like you're doing projects directly for these multilateral development banks or multilateral organizations, maybe ADB or BMGF or JICA. They directly fund projects. So sometimes they fund the government for certain projects, and in that scenario you'll be working with the government. But a lot of the times they directly fund projects as well, which you completely miss
Yes.
out on. And those are the kind of projects which are more like strategic in nature, right? They're not, sometimes they're implementation focused, sometimes they're not. And that is what I want to pivot to. And also, I think social impact consulting allows you the opportunity to work globally on a lot of international projects as well. And that is the reason why I personally wanted to. And there were other certain challenges that I've faced in the government advisory setup, which I'm sure if we were to discuss personally, you'd agree and understand. And due to those reasons, I wanted to move out. Like, I'm certain about moving out of the government advisory setup. And I think because of the gaps that I had highlighted in the essay, I was probably that's the reason I wasn't specifically asked about what the difference is between the two. And had they asked me that question, I think this is what my answer would have been, something along the lines of what I just told you.
Got it.
Yeah,
Thanks for that.
you're welcome.
I was not expecting this great round of discussion happening today. I mean, of course, I
I'm
knew
glad.
that it would be fruitful, but I mean, even I made so much of notes, see,
I'm very happy to hear that.
which I'll be telling to other people. I mean, the next
I'm
round
glad.
of applicants. So it's every applicant I work with is a learning experience in itself. Okay. If there are no more questions, we can say bye to Heeral. I really don't want to stress her out. I'm already very thankful that she has made time. So
No, no, I am very happy.
you're not meeting us on the dinner. So
Yeah, I
we'll
will
meet-
probably not be able to,
no problem. I'll meet you on 12th. Okay.
for sure. Yeah.
Yes. I'll be in the atrium. Please come and say hi.
Fantastic. I'd be more than happy to meet you.
Okay. Great.
Yes.
Great, Heeral. 2 days to go.
Yes.
And before you leave, I mean, before your
Mm-hmm.
parents leave, say a big thanks to them, because ultimately it's all our parents' blessing that we are doing well in life, right?
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
Sure.
Undoubtedly. Yes.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for joining. Bye bye.
Bye.